welcome to a brand new episode of Coming Distractions brought to you by the Nerdpocalypse podcast. I'm your host, Jay. All right, guys, let's talk about Spider-Man Far From Home. This is obviously the latest film from Marvel Studios and the end of Phase 3. This is a direct follow-up sequel to Avengers Endgame. So when I go through the plot, this is all the stuff that's in the trailer. So if you haven't seen the trailer, that's not my problem, okay? This is not a spoiler for anything. Just this is what's happening in the trailer so that you know to set this up. The film basically stars Tom Holland as Peter Parker Spider-Man and Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury and Zendaya as MJ. A newcomer to the series, Jake Gyllenhaal as this new hero, Mysterio. So Peter Parker, after the events of Endgame, mourning the death of Tony Stark, decides that he's going to go on this. He's going to go along with his classmates on this European educational trip. He's not going to take his suit. He figures, hey, there's other Avengers to deal with all this stuff, so I can take a break. He keeps getting phone calls from Nick Fury. Nick Fury is like trying to get in touch with him, and he's like, nah, fuck that. I don't need it. I'm going on vacation. So he does, and he doesn't take his suit. His vacation gets hijacked when this new hero Mysterio shows up to stop this monster that pops up while he's in Europe. And so then Spider-Man is drawn into this conflict and has to, figure out what his role is as an Avenger, as a superhero, in light of all the events of Endgame with Tony dying and sort of Tony's legacy and trying to live up to that legacy. All the while, he's also trying to finally get the guts to court MJ, who he's really into. That's a huge plot point in this movie. Look, I've been on record saying that Spider-Man Homecoming is the best Spider-Man movie, in my opinion. And looking back, I have to admit that I was wrong about that. And I say that because this is the best Spider-Man movie. It's not even close. The inventiveness of this movie is incredible. If you are a hardcore Spider-Man fan, you'll know why. It's fun. Inventive is probably the best word I can think of because it makes the stakes a lot higher than you'd think they would be. Peter Parker's relationship with MJ, they do a really good job. Both Tom Holland and Zendaya do a really good job of doing what they are, portraying themselves as kids and kids trying to, express how they feel about another kid. So they're awkward and weird, but it's adorable. So it super works. It really shows that it was a good choice to make him a kid in this series instead of jumping to an adult. It really super works. When Mysterio shows up, the effects on Mysterio are fantastic. They look incredible. Like his flying, his powers, all of that. His power set is really, really cool. They do a good job of making this movie feels very, I wouldn't say 80s in style, but very much that National Lampoon's, European Vacation kind of thing, right? Like where they're going to different parts of Europe and antics ensue, and it's like the juxtaposition between him fighting these monsters, and him trying to balance his school trip and not seem awkward or weird and why he keeps disappearing and things is really good. They do a really good job. The comedy is super on point. His buddy Ned obviously is back in this one, who's hilarious. Even I would argue even funnier in this than he was in the previous one. I didn't think they could capture that same magic that they did in Homecoming, and amp it up, but they did. Seemingly with ease, which was really great. Sam Jackson was really great because he's been gone for 5 years. And so he comes back and he's like, I don't know, what the hell is going on with all these kids, superheroes? And it's his world is a little stranger too, which is kind of fun. Yeah, I don't want to give away. Obviously, there's some pretty big plot plot twists and changeovers and things that happen that are really interesting and really fun. Some of them are a little bit more obvious than others. But what I would say is, I saw this alongside Micah, and one thing he pointed out that I thought was a really good opinion is, when you know certain things, if you're a Spider-Man fan and you have been in the comics for a long time, when you know certain things, how does the movie surprise you, right? How does it surprise the fan? Yeah, they do. They figure out a way to pull off, I would argue, two massive surprises that you do not see coming any way, shape, or form. So I would say that Spider-Man Far From Home is a hell of a good time. It really, really is. If you liked Homecoming, you're going to love this. It takes everything that worked in Homecoming and pushes it up tenfold. It feels like it belongs in that universe. And what I mean by that is, it doesn't jump to comedy in the face of all the tragedy of Endgame. It makes those things stick. And Tom Holland puts in some pretty serious performance moments, I thought, that I really, really dug, with him dealing with the legacy of Tony Stark and everything else. It's really great. Gyllenhaal is great. You could really see where Gyllenhaal a number of years ago could have been Spider-Man himself, which is kind of dope. Just his whole renaissance of his career, this was perfect for him. Like, he really got to be like all in on this character as Mysterio. It was really dope. Like, things I didn't like about it, honestly, right now, I can't think of something I didn't like. I guess I could have used a little bit more action in the first act, but there is a number of action sequences, but I just kind of wanted more just because of Spider-Man, and I want to see him do a lot of swinging. But the sort of latter half of the movie, man, he is in his bag. Like, it is crazy how good he is. The swinging and everything has never looked better. Look, I was all in. Spider-Man is one of my favorite heroes. Like, it was absolutely fantastic. One last point before we get out of here. You have to stay for the 2 after credits. They are so pivotal to what is going to happen in this universe. They are incredibly pivotal. Like, a lot of times that Marvel does the one comedy one and then one semi-serious one that maybe this leads to somewhere. No. Both of them are huge points. They are huge points. So make sure you stay for the after credits. Look, if you're a Marvel fan, you're going to stay anyway, but I cannot stress to you enough, these are not BS after credits. They are super important. So for me, Spider-Man Far From Home, it's a 5 out of 5. I laughed. I thought the serious moments were great. The action sequences were awesome. The twists and turns were great. The special effects, the fight scenes, all of it was super inventive. Yeah, you see Spider-Man do things that you have not seen him do in other movies, which is very cool. It's stellar. It really is. It's a hell of an end to Phase 3. I can't wait to see what they do with Phase 4. So that's it, and we will see you guys next time.
You're watching the Nerdpocalypse YouTube channel. Make sure you click that button to subscribe and check out our weekly podcast where we talk about movie, TV, news, tech, and weird stories from around the internet.